And there we go, everyone. We are back again for another fantastic conversation on Friday Night Counter Attack. And this week we are joined by a very special guest, all the way in España, in Spain, in pain, but with the S in the beginning. That's my poor that's my poor way of saying I'm in pain, but I'm actually in Spain. But Spain's a nice place to be. Literally, the first time I went to Spain was this year, and it was great going to Madrid and seeing Real Madrid versus Rayo Vallecano was amazing. And today I have the luxury of interviewing a Rayo Vallecano footballer today. So I'm going to introduce everyone to Laura. Laura, it's very nice to have you on the podcast today. Can you pronounce your surname for us? Because I don't want to ruin it just by how I pronounce it. How do you pronounce your surname, Laura?
Well, first, hello, and thank you for having me.
You're
And
welcome.
my surname, okay, so in like Spanish accent,
In Spanish accent.
yeah, Galceran.
Galceran.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Perfect. Good attempt first time. So we've got Laura Galceran. Is it midfielder for Rayo Vallecano, was it?
Yes.
Yes. Fantastic. Now I'm looking forward to this podcast, and it's the first time I've had a Spanish footballer on our podcast. I'm looking forward to hearing a lot more about yourself, how you kind of got into women's football as well, and what your plans are for the rest of the season. So looking forward to having you on our podcast today, Laura, and I'm really looking forward to making sure I can pronounce your surname properly for the rest of the episode, which will be nice and fun as well, which will be great. My surname is quite difficult, but we'll get to that later on, which will be good. But Laura, it's really nice to have you on the podcast. Before we get into anything football related, the reason that I kind of saw you from afar was because you had recently completed your master's in the La
Yeah.
Liga Business School. For someone who doesn't really know about the business school, and for people who are listening, how did you get involved in it? What was the La Liga Business School all about? And what kind of benefits did it offer you as a professional footballer in the game as well?
Yeah, sure. So I've always been interested in the sports industry. Besides being a player, I've always been interested in the marketing behind it, the commercial part, the business part. And after graduating from college, I knew I wanted to do my master's in sports management or sports marketing. And I did my undergrad in the US
Oh,
and I
wow.
wanted to do my graduate degree in Europe.
Yep.
And I had a friend that actually did a master's degree for at La Liga, and I chatted with him, and he was very happy with it, and I started getting more interested. I contacted them, I spoke to them, and I finally decided to do it there. Yeah, I did the global sports marketing masters.
So would that mean that you could basically have a career after football that doesn't have to be related to football playing or coaching or scouting? I mean, something completely different, but within football. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my intention.
Yeah.
I want to contribute to this industry. If I can do it with women's football, even better. And yeah, it's like playing women's football, it's growing, but it's still not, as I think it's gonna be.
Yeah.
And you need to prepare yourself for the future. And even right now, I'm playing and I'm working at the same time. And I work in the sports industry. So I wouldn't say it's a plan for the future. It's a plan for now as well. Yeah.
Excellent. I love that line. That's fantastic. Getting straight to it. When you're finished playing and scoring goals on weekends, you're back into it, which is fantastic to see. Nah,
Yeah.
great work there. And like you said, you've done it from studying in the USA as well. So we'll get onto that later on. It's just I wanted to kind of know, just before we get onto your career in the USA, how you kind of started playing football. Were you a big fan of it growing up? Who did you support growing up? And
Mhm.
realistically speaking, what was it like as a girl in Spain and one of the biggest footballing nations in the world playing football?
Yeah. I've always been interested in football. It was since I was young. I was always going around with a football ball, sorry.
That's your time in the USA speaking
Yeah,
soccer
that's
ball.
my yeah. But I was obsessed with football and I started playing in school. And when I was I think 6 years old, my friends we all joined a neighborhood, like a team in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Started playing more there and I started playing with boys. And when I was like 10 or 11, then I switched to a girls only team. And
Fantastic.
yeah, and I started there and then I played for Español. I don't know if you know the team.
I know the team a lot. I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of rival teams, and with Barcelona, obviously their
Yeah.
rival team is Espanyol. So I'm looking forward to hearing the stories of a
Yeah.
local derby for Espanyol when you were younger. How was that for you?
It was nice. That's where I would say I developed myself the most.
Okay.
And I played there until I was 18 years old. That it's when I went to the US.
Yeah. And then when you went to the USA, you didn't just go to study, but you went there to continue playing football as well. So, like you said before, you've done your master's degree. What did you kind of study when you were in the USA as well as playing? We're not going to call it soccer, but football. What did you study whilst you were over there as well, Laura?
Yeah, so I studied finance, which is very different from what I'm doing right now, which is commercial and marketing.
Yeah,
But I've always been interested in finances and investing and, the business side of things. So I studied that, but during my college career, I realized how big the sports industry was, especially in America. It's so developed there, and especially the marketing and commercial part. And that's where I started becoming more interested in, oh, you can not only play, but you can also work in this. So that's where I started becoming more interested and decided that I wanted to do my master's in that.
fantastic. And obviously, when you went from playing football in Spain all the way to the USA, what were the main kind of changes that you had in terms of your style of play? Did you have to change position at all? Kind of tactics with how it was different from the USA to Spain? What were the main kind of differences, Laura, that you would say?
Yeah, the main differences were definitely the technical and physical part. So here in Spain, it's way more technical,
Yeah,
and in the US, it was way more physical. And when I got there my freshman year, I remember I was so small, and my coach would make me, like, after practice, go with the strength coach, right? Like just him and me to the gym to get stronger, basically.
that's like
Um,
me right now. I don't have a strength coach, but I'm just trying to get stronger at football. I'm playing with
yeah,
guys who are like taller than me, stronger than me, and I'm like, no, I can't handle this. So I'm up in my game in the
yeah.
gym as well, which is good fun. Very tiring, but good fun nevertheless as well, which
Yeah,
is
well,
great.
that was me a couple years ago,
That's
yeah.
okay. That's good to hear. And where did you play in the USA? What university did you go to?
I played for Oregon State University.
Oh, okay. Is that on the West Coast in Portland?
Yes,
Yeah.
we were in Corvallis, which is a small town. It's like an hour and a half away from Portland.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah,
really good to hear. And how did you find it whilst you're out there? Big change in culture from Barcelona to USA.
yeah, yeah. So after one of my games for Espanol, a man approached my dad and he was like, because I went to when I was 16, I lived 1 year in California.
Okay.
And I guess this guy, he knew that, and he approached my dad and he was like, "Oh, I think we could find an opportunity for her in the US, blah blah blah." And then actually I didn't want to go, but my dad thought it was a great opportunity. And
Yeah.
I was like, "No, dad, I'm not gonna go." And he was like, "Well, let me look into it." So he started talking with this guy from this agency by himself. And then I remember I was going to play one game for Español, and we're in the car going to the game. And he goes, "Oh, by the way, someone's gonna come watch you today." I was like, "Oh, I don't know, my granddad or something." I don't
Mm.
know. And then it was like, "No, it's actually this coach from the US." I was like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, this coach he was from Mississippi State,
Yeah.
and it was like, he's gonna come watch you." And I was like, "Dad, I told you I didn't want to go to the US, and you've made a coach come all the way here to watch me play." It's like, "Just keep calm, just play and have fun." I was like, and I remember after the game, we had lunch with him and we spoke to him, and I really liked him. It's like, oh, okay, I kind of like this. And then I started becoming more interested, and I ended up going to Mississippi State first. And I was there for 6 months, and the coach and my coach, which it was Matt, he was the coach that came to watch me play. He transferred to Oregon State, and
Okay.
he told me if I wanted to go with him to Oregon State. So I ended up transferring to Oregon State, and
Big
that's where,
decision as well. Different parts of the country entirely, which is crazy.
yeah, yeah. But I think Mississippi was a big cultural change, shock for me,
Yeah.
because I thought the U.S. all the U.S. was basically like California, which is where
Mm.
I lived when I was 16. And Mississippi is way different from California. And
In what
Oregon,
way? Just quieter.
um, not quieter. I would say like the mindset is very different.
Okay.
And even like cultural, like the culture is different. And Oregon is next to California and it's in the West Coast. It's more similar to California. So Matt was like, I also think it's gonna be a better fit for you. And I went for it, and I'm really happy that I made that decision because I loved my time at Oregon.
And how long were you playing in Oregon for in terms of football in it?
3 years and a half.
3 years and a half. And when did you get back to Spain?
I got back last year.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So it's only fairly recent then. Is that why you've got such a good English accent? Because you've been in California for so many years and
Um,
Oregon.
well, I've been in Oregon for 3 years and a half, Mississippi for 6 months, and then California for 1 year. And when I was younger, I lived in New York with my family for 1 year. So yeah, I basically lived in the US for 6 years.
So for me to learn Spanish, as opposed to using Duolingo or playing FIFA with FIFA commentary in
Yes,
Spanish,
please. I'm
I need
not a
to
fan of Duolingo.
I need to go to Madrid. I need to go to Panama City. I need to go to Mexico
Yes,
City. I need to go to Barcelona. I need to go to all the Spanish speaking countries to get my language up because Duolingo is hopeless right now. Trying to have a conversation with people in Spanish and it just does not work as well. I know I have to order water at a table, but waiters know how to speak English, so it doesn't help me at all there, I think.
yeah.
But
I
yeah,
always say you don't learn a language till you're forced to speak it.
yeah. That's
So
quite true.
you gotta
When I went to Japan, I learned how to speak Japanese for 3 weeks because I had to learn the language through Google Translate and my little textbook that I had as well. So ever since then, I've been able to speak Japanese. Ohayo gozaimasu. That's a that's a very bad pronunciation of hello, how are you, which is not great at all. Um, but no, Laura, thank you very much for going through your journey in the USA. It's quite fascinating as well, and it goes to show that it's not just for anyone. Like everyone's got that opportunity to go. There are people who are watching you in all parts of Europe looking to play in the USA as well. And like you said as well, it's more rounded in terms of their marketing, especially towards women football compared to Europe, for
yeah.
example, as well,
Okay.
which would
100%.
be a big thing. And then you finished your university, then you came over back to Spain as well. Did you go
Mhm.
straight into Rayo Vallecano's team, or did you have a bit of a break in terms of where you were going next? What happened there, Laura?
Yeah, so I ended my college career in the US, and then I actually had a fifth year because of the COVID. They gave us an extra year. And
Okay,
I yeah, and I didn't know if I wanted to do my master's in the US or Europe, but I decided I wanted to do it in Europe because I want to live in Europe and I thought I was gonna gain more opportunities there. So I still wanted to play, but I wanted to keep balancing my studies with football. And after I applied for the master's and when I got accepted, I thought, okay, now I need to find a team in Madrid to be able to balance both things. And the master's was in the afternoon, so I needed to find a team that trained in the morning, which
yeah,
is hard here if it's not a top tier team. And I got an offer from Madrid CFF, which is a women's club here in Spain,
yeah.
for their B team, which is a under 23 team. I'm 23 right now, so I was 22 last year.
Okay,
And yeah, so I played for them for 6 months, and then Rayo Vallecano called me, and I switched to Rayo Vallecano in the winter transfer
window.
yeah window.
Yeah.
And I was there for the last part of the season, so from January to June, and then this year I renovated with them. And I'm gonna stay 1 year at least
This
here.
year, meaning a couple of days ago when you got your certificate.
When what? Sorry?
When you got well, did you graduate a couple of days ago? Was that when it happened?
Yes, I
Yeah.
graduated a week ago. And I started a new online job now. So now I'm playing at Rayo and then doing this online job.
Excellent. So you've been really busy then the last 4 or 5 years then non-stop with studying,
Yes, yes,
working, and football as well. How have
especially
you
last year. Mhm.
sorry, I was going to say, how have you found that all mentally in terms of how you had to prepare for everything? You've had to live in a different country, you've had to move back, but to a different place in Spain. How's that been for you mentally, and what kind of best practices did you use in terms of mentally preparing for everything, Laura?
Yeah, I think it got harder when I came back to Spain last
Oh,
year
mm,
because, yeah, I think in the US they do a great job balancing your athletic career with your academic because well, that's how they do it, right? They give you a scholarship to play football, but also do your career there. So they're very conscious about it, and they give you a lot of resources. And if you need help, they provide you with tutors or counseling, whatever you need. But when I came back here in Spain, I was it was separate. I was playing and I was studying, separate things. And I would train in the morning, and then when I was at Rayo, we would train in the morning, then I would eat at Rayo, eat lunch there, and then I would go straight to class from 5 till 9:30, 10 p.m. And then I would get home. And I would get home at 11 p.m., but then I had to make my dinner, do laundry, plan my day for, the next day. And it was very busy. I was very busy. And then in the weekends, we had to travel all over Spain to
Yeah.
play. Um, so it was a little bit hard, but the good part is that I love what I'm doing. So I don't mind, spending a lot of hours doing it. But yeah, it was a very busy year. It was a
It's
very busy.
inspiring to hear that though, because it goes to show that even though you had so much on your plate and you had so much on your schedule on a weekly, daily, and hourly basis, to be fair with you, Laura, you coped with it really well. And it goes to show that anyone who's listening and they've got so much of a busy routine or a big routine that they've got, as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, you can always cope and you can always manage it. And you can have that motivation to pull yourself through to the next week, the week after that. And then when you see end goals like what happened just there, you've hit a milestone in your life of obviously graduating through the Liga business school for your masters. It goes to show that it was all worth it at the end of the day as well. And it goes to show with the discipline you had has made it so much more beneficial for your future, which is great.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you need to be, working 20 hours a day or whatever, but I also think that to get to where you want to be in life, you need to make some sacrifices.
Mm.
And I used that this past year as my waiting period year or my sacrifice year. Because I was doing a lot of things, but to get where I want to get, I feel like I needed to do that, you
Yeah.
know? Um, so
No,
yeah.
that's really well put and really well explained as well, that you've got to sacrifice to make things going forward. And football is all about sacrifice as well at the end of the day. What your family have sacrificed for you, what you've sacrificed for the game. And obviously from this season onwards, you're going to be playing for Rayo Vallecano from the beginning of the season, which will be
Yeah.
great fun as well. So as it is the Women's World Cup at the time of recording as well,
Mm.
and you're playing for Rayo Vallecano, just tell us a bit about how Rayo Vallecano are preparing for the new season as well. Have they got some players that the Women's World Cup? Have they got some players that they're looking forward to actually becoming big superstars, yourself included, Laura? What are we expecting from Rayo Vallecano's women's team this season?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we are in second. It's called Segunda RF.
Yeah, so like
It's not
Liga B,
the top.
second division.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of. It's not the top league in Spain, so we don't have any international players.
Okay.
We used to last year, but it was for example, Panama, more like smaller countries.
Yeah.
Um,
Panama are doing okay in the World Cup. Made the group stages, which was nice to see.
yeah, they did the group stage. They made the group stages, but I think they didn't. They're already out. They
Yeah.
didn't qualify for. By the way, there's been some big surprises in the World Cup, but
So
yeah,
many
we can
surprises.
talk about that later. But yeah, we started training this week actually on Monday, and it's a new division for us, but a lot of my teammates stayed in the club. And I'm excited to start from zero with Rayo. I really enjoyed my last 6 months here, and that's why I stayed. Um, and the atmosphere is great, the work ethic is great, so I'm excited for this season. Yeah.
No, that's good to see. And just tell us a bit about yourself as a footballer. What kind of playing style do you have? Who would you compare yourself to as a midfielder? Are you more of an attacking midfielder or a defensive midfielder? What would you say,
Um,
Laura?
I used to be 100% attacking. I now play as an eight, so we play with a six, eight, and 10.
Okay.
Uh, I usually play as an eight and sometimes as a six. But I must recognize that I like attacking way more than
So you're like
defending.
a Luka Modric then.
Yeah, I'm not a big Real Madrid fan. I need to
I
say it.
know, I know. I had to
I
throw
need to
Luka
say
Modric
that.
out there. Okay, for Barcelona purposes, let's say you're more like a Xavi then. Number eight, classic number eight for
Yes,
Spain, which is really
yes,
good.
yes. Yeah, that's a good one. I like Iniesta too.
Iniesta is excellent and fantastic. He could play everywhere. Winger,
Yeah.
10, 8, everywhere he could. He could just pull the strings, which is insane. Do you think he's going to go to Inter Miami or do you think he's going to retire?
Iniesta.
Yeah. Your
I
face just lit up then as well, so I know you're a big Barcelona fan.
a little bit.
Definitely not Espanol anymore.
Um, I think he's gonna go, yeah. And I
Yeah.
think Jordi Alba's gonna go too.
Maybe
Um,
Luis Suarez.
I don't know about him right now, maybe in the future, but they're really doing an Inter Miami under 35 team.
Yeah. Under 35 is doing quite well for them as well. The retirement's home in the USA is going quite well. Well, that's one wearing the shirt actually. Number 6, Iniesta. This is one of his shirts that he had. I think it was at the 2018 World Cup. He had this shirt Iniesta. But yeah, in terms of your style of play, you said you like to attack a lot as well. What's Spanish football like in the women's game? Because in England, it's not as physical as like the men's game from what we've seen from women's football as well. But they like to play a lot of technical football playing out from the back, and they're really good in the middle. What's it like for you when you're playing against some of these tougher oppositions? Are they more tougher physically or kind of technically? What would you say, Laura?
What do you mean when?
So in the style of play. So how in you said earlier that you play like more technical in Spain than you do
Yeah.
in the USA when you're more physical. What are the opponents like? Your opposition in your league? What are they like? Do they all play in a technical way or do they play in a physical way?
Um, yeah,
Defensive way, that type of thing.
yeah. When I was in the US, it was definitely way more physical.
Mm,
And it took me a few months to adapt to it because I was not used to everyone just like grabbing and pushing and I
yeah.
would complain about everything. I was like, this is a foul. Because in Spain it is.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in the US, even my coach was like, come on.
Carry on with it.
Yeah. But then when I came back here in Spain, it's definitely way more technical. Um, so I think in the US I gained that more like aggressive part.
Yeah.
But here it's still way more technical. It's getting more physical,
Okay.
especially in lower leagues. It's more physical, I think, than in the top league where there's like more talent. Um, but yeah, here it's definitely way more technical, and you just need a it's a different way of defending. Need to be more careful. Um, but then you can use that aggressiveness from the US here too, because Spanish players don't like to be touched.
Yeah, that's true. I noticed that from Champions League games quite a lot as well, and from Spanish players that come over to England. And now in England, whenever there's a Spanish player around, no one will touch them because they know they're going to go down quite easily. But in women's football, it's the opposite because they'll just carry on playing. And it's like even the Spanish women's national team. I'm sure you'll tell me more than I will know about how technically gifted they all are as well. The last
Yeah,
season,
yeah.
last summer in the Euros, personally, I thought they should have won the Euros because of how well they were playing and they lost to England, obviously, in the semi-final. But this time in the World Cup, I think they're doing pretty well. What do you think, Laura?
Yeah, they're doing well. I think they're still missing a little bit of that athletic part.
Yeah,
I really think that once Spanish players and even well, that's what happened with FC Barcelona. They were great technically, but they struggled with their physicality in the international level, and that's what they worked on. They got better at that, and now they're like one of the, if not the top team, one of the top teams in Europe. So I think not only with FC Barcelona, if the Spanish players or Spanish clubs do this, I think they will become really successful in a global level because we have this technical part, we're just missing the athletic part. And that comes with more investing in the game, more resources, better facilities,
and more marketing.
and yeah,
Better
and my
marketing.
commercial part.
Definitely. And for you to be in the Spanish team in a couple years' time as well. Do you reckon you can make that? Do
We'll
you
see
reckon you
about
could?
that. We'll see about that.
Stranger things have happened in football, so I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
in a couple years'
yeah.
time we could see you in a national team, and I'll be like, "I told you so. I told you this would happen." and
Yeah,
you'll be like, how
I
do
don't
you
know
remember? I'm like, I remember everything. It'll be
I
really
don't
cool to see. No, it
know.
could happen. But yeah, in terms of obviously playing in League B in the second division in Spanish women's Spanish football as well, what are your main kind of challenges, or who are your main kind of challenges for promotion to the top team? So you've got Rayo Vallecano at the moment. Are they looking for promotion? Have you got other teams looking for promotion for favorites?
So it's hard because right now in a spot because they're trying to make the league shorter.
Mm,
Uh, we're in a spot that we don't know if we're gonna play in the third or second division.
okay,
We're trying to cut the teams. So
disgraceful.
I
Keep it in the second division.
yeah, it's gonna be weird because the second division is gonna have less teams than the first division.
Mm,
Which it's usually the
the other way
opposite.
around. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But whatever. But I think in the second division, some teams that are gonna be in the upper um side are gonna be Deportivo, Osasuna, Alaves. Those are my three main. And then Barca B, but they can promote, so
Yeah, because they're just there as a development squad, aren't they? Barca B, so they
yeah,
can't
but
go over a certain.
they're very good. They won the league last season.
They won the league because I bet you they just put all of their younger players into Barca B, so then they can get practice for Barca A when eventually it comes around.
Yeah, no, they all their players are like 19 years old, but they're really, really good.
Yeah, no, it's just crazy to see that the development at some of these teams when they're putting into women's football is so good, and it shows the quality of some of them, and it shows how fast the game is growing in women's football as well. And obviously, because I wanted to talk to you about women's football as well as men's football before we end the podcast later on, now it's time to kind of ask you a bit more about the Women's World Cup. At the time of recording, there's been some amazing shots, there's been some amazing games. I just kind of want to know from you personally, Laura, if you
Mhm.
could name three players that you've watched at this Women's World Cup and you've been really impressed by, who would they be and why?
Let me think.
You don't have to say an English player, so don't worry about it.
Honestly, it's been hard to follow the Women's World Cup this year because all the games are in such hard times here in Spain.
And in England, like
Yeah,
3
yeah, well,
a.m., 4 a.m., it's
it's like
awful.
1 a.m., 3 a.m., and then Spain plays at 9 a.m. and I have training at that time, and
I'm
it's been
asleep.
so hard. Yeah. It's been so hard, but Mary Fowler from Australia.
Yeah,
I'd say I love Aitana Bonmatí. Every time I watch her play, she just amazes me. I think she's, if not she's one of the top players in the world, and I love her playing style. Um, and she always surprises me, so I need to say her. Say her.
definitely.
Um, then what other player can I say? Linda
From,
Caicedo from Colombia.
from Colombia. That game for Colombia was crazy, and it goes to show,
Yeah, against Germany.
yeah, against Germany. And then Brazil, I think, drew with Jamaica today as well, which
Yeah,
was insane.
they're out of the World Cup.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's insane. And then you've got the other shock that I saw was Nigeria beating Australia, beating the host. I thought that was fantastic. You see
mhm.
Nigeria beating Australia. So it goes to show this World Cup isn't just a standard World Cup where the big teams will beat the smaller
Yeah,
teams.
it's very competitive.
Very competitive and really nice different styles of play from all the kind of teams as well,
Yeah.
which will be great to see. So if you had to put a target on yourself for this season, Laura, in terms of goals, in terms of assists, what's your kind of targets? What's your kind of goals for this season?
Honestly, if because what I mentioned, we don't know if we're gonna play in the second or third division. If we end up in third division, my target is to promote.
Yeah,
I don't care how many goals, assists. Um, I don't care. My target is to promote, help the team as much as I can. I like doing assists more than goals.
yes.
Um,
As a good midfielder should, as a good Spanish midfielder would, and have done
yeah.
for years. They love it.
Um, yeah. If I had to say like specific targets, I would say score one goal, like a goal on a free kick.
Yes,
I really want to score a goal on a free kick, and
like
then
Xavi. Xavi could
and
do that every day of the week.
yeah, I guess. Oh wait. Yep. I guess doing as many as being one of the top players in my team in terms of assists, I would say.
Excellent. No, that's good to hear. It's really good to hear that. Obviously, you got your target set for the season as well. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you on this podcast this week was obviously because of the La Liga season coming up this season. I think it starts later than the Premier League. And here in England, we start in like August, but I think it's like September or late
Yeah.
August when it will
Mhm.
start in La Liga, which would be great. So again, with this, what we like to do is we like to then kind of talk to our guests about some of their favorite players that have got coming up for the season, some of their favorite footballing heroes that they were. So obviously, I know you're a Barcelona fan, but if there's any Espanyol heroes, we'll get to hear about them later on. And just to conclude as well, what do you think is really going to happen in La Liga and any players to watch? So first things first, Laura, are you an avid watcher of La Liga? Do you passionately follow La Liga and Barcelona Football Club?
I do. I definitely do. This year, as I told you,
Mm.
yeah.
No, that's a surprise because when I speak to women footballers a lot, they always say, they literally always, 9 times out of 10, literally, you're probably like the 10th one I've interviewed, they'll all say, oh, yeah, I don't really watch men's football that much. So it's a big surprise to me that you're a passionate watcher of La Liga. So fair play to you, Laura. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've grown up watching La Liga games. When I was young, there wasn't any women's games
Yeah.
on TV, so I grew up watching, especially FC Barcelona.
Mm.
Um, but I have to admit that this year I haven't been watching that much because I was so busy that I didn't have time to watch games. I would only watch like FC Barcelona games and Real Madrid games sometimes.
That's like me anyway. I'm always talking about Real Madrid and Barcelona, but not really
Yeah.
much other teams in La Liga, as I would honestly say, because I'm not going to pretend like I do. But yeah, the big teams as you were. Did you get to watch them properly when you were in the USA as well?
Um, I would because we had, I think it was 8 Spaniards in the men's and women's teams in
Yeah.
Oregon. Wait, I think I'm about to run out of battery, but and we would all hang out and watch the games together, but also the timing differences was hard because sometimes it would play at 3 a.m.
No, that
Um,
makes sense.
yeah, but I still followed the top clubs.
That's okay. That's good to see. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to have a quick five-a-side draft. So obviously I know you're a Barcelona fan, and I just kind of wanted to know from you who would be in your top 5 Barcelona players of all time for both men's and for women's teams as well.
Okay, of all time,
Of all time, and including women's players as well.
including women's players.
Yes.
Okay. Um, I okay, the ones that I like, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Your favorite choice. It doesn't have to be the best. It
Okay,
can be your
my
favorites.
okay. Guardiola. I really like Guardiola. Um,
Because he
and I
was a
think
midfielder as well, and he loves midfielders and he loves developing midfielders at this moment in time for
yeah.
Manchester City. I'm a
Mhm.
Manchester United fan here, Laura. So I feel the pain
Oh my
every
God.
single season
Yes.
for what he does. But I can't hate on what he does because he makes some of these plays extraordinary with the football, and it's really, 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 really worrying how some of these players have so much crazy talent because of Pep Guardiola and his knowledge of the game as well, which is insane.
Yes, he was a great footballer and now he's a great coach. And I really liked him. I didn't get the chance to watch him like on live, I would
Yeah.
say, but I watched videos of him playing and I really like him. And then I'm gonna go with 3 men and 2 females.
Okay.
Um, then I have to say Xavi and Iniesta.
Of course,
But that's an easy choice.
it is an easy choice.
I'm
That's an
gonna
automatic choice, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, yeah. Xavi and Iniesta just because I'm a midfielder and I love their playing style. And
Can
then
you do Iniesta's signature skill? You know the do you call it la
la, cro-
croqueta?
la
Can,
croqueta.
can you do that?
The I can do it not as well as he did it or
Ah,
he
okay.
did it,
You're gonna have
but
to send me a video of you doing it because
okay.
I think I'm really good at it. Like that's my signature skill, the step over and the la croqueta. And I play
Can I
center
do it?
defensive mid. So I need to improve on it. But I think with you, I think yeah, send me a video and I'll make sure that
Okay,
I'm doing it properly as well. Because
okay,
I'm
for
looking at Iniesta and he does it so easy, but he moves his hips in the way, and I'm just like, oh, it's so difficult to do so,
sure.
which is painful.
Um, and then for women, Alexia, obviously.
Yes.
No, just. because I feel like she has helped the women's game grow a lot.
Absolutely. Not just
On and off,
Spanish football or
off the field.
Barcelona.
Yeah,
Ballon d'Or winner as well.
yeah.
Incredible player, Alexia Putellas, which is fantastic. And
On and off the field. And then I have to say Aitana because she's my favorite player,
mm,
and I think she's awesome. I
yeah.
just realized I said all midfielders, but
Who was your third Barcelona player? Because you said Messi's an automatic choice. So you've got one more if you wanted to choose one.
um, another one. Okay, I'm not gonna say midfielder because I said all midfielders. Oh, Ronaldinho.
Ronaldinho, not Rivaldo, not Henri, Eto'o,
Ronaldinho.
Idago Johnson,
When I was
Pedro.
young, my how do you say it? Like bed sheets?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My bed sheets were of Ronaldinho.
That's crazy. That's a crazy statement. I wasn't even allowed football ones in my bedroom because I knew that I'd just be crying in there because Man United would make me cry. Actually, when we were younger, Man United were very good. The only times I got emotional was when Barcelona beat us twice in the Champions League final, once in 2009, then once in 2011 as well, which is insane. But no, Ronaldinho was a special talent and he was a fantastic player to really watch and to learn from as well. I spoke about Iniesta's signature skill, the La Croqueta. Can you do Ronaldinho's flip flap? Could you do that on the pitch?
Not probably not on the pitch. But off the pitch, yeah.
Off the
Or like
pitch,
off the pitch, not sorry, off the like not in the game.
training.
Training, yeah.
If you could do that in training, if you do that on the pitch, that'd be so cool. I would just be there like, oh my days, this is insane. This is
Yeah.
fantastic, which is really good. But no, thank you for going through your favorite Barcelona players of all time. And I just wanted to kind of talk about La Liga for the rest of the podcast as well. So obviously, with the La Liga coming up, Barcelona are champions. Xavi has got Barcelona back to the top of Spanish football. Do you think it's now time that obviously I think Dembele is going to leave at this moment in time, but do you think it's now time that Xavi will end up promoting some of his more younger players to help him improve in the European game as well? Because it was quite difficult last season, obviously being demoted to the Europa League for Barcelona. What's your kind of expectations for Barcelona this season, Laura?
Um, I think, I really like Xavi.
Yeah.
I really like, he's been in Barcelona for a long time. He knows the style of play. And I think his project is gonna take some years to, be at his peak. It's not gonna be like with Guardiola that he came in a few years, or I don't know if it was I
First
can't
season, he came in and he won the
first
Champions
season.
League. No, first season, Guardiola came in and he won the treble. That's how good Pep Guardiola
Yeah.
was
It
at
was the
Barcelona.
first season, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Xavi's project is gonna take a little bit more time, especially looking at the financial state of the club. Um, but one thing that I think Barcelona is great at is at being regular and consistent throughout the season.
Yeah.
So I'm not that worried about the league, the Spanish league. I'm more worried about the Champions League.
Okay.
And getting back there and being successful there.
Some big teams in that Champions League this season, and Arsenal were in there as well. So
Yeah.
they're finally in the Champions League for the first time in ages. I'd like to see you in a group with Arsenal personally, because with Arteta and with Xavi, it will remind me of literally how the difference in quality is in terms of with the Spanish football. And Barcelona normally have really good games against Arsenal in the Champions League as well. So I think that'll be quite a good game if that were to happen in the group stages. That'd be quite funny, I think, which would be good.
Mhm. Yeah.
But no, in the Champions League, I'm looking forward to seeing how Barcelona do, because especially with some of your young players, you've got Pedri coming through, you've got
Yeah.
Balde coming through, the left back, who I think is excellent. Ansu Fati coming back from his injury problems as well. I'm not a big fan of Gavi personally, but I think those four players are very good.
Because you like Real Madrid. You can't like Real Madrid and like Gavi. It's
I like,
like
yeah, that's probably what it is. I think subconsciously, I don't like Gavi, but then again, Gavi was quite annoying when Man United played against him, and he tried to be rude to Casemiro, and Casemiro was just there like, "Who are you?" And like
I think
Casemiro's like, "I've won 5 Champions Leagues," and Gavi was trying to fight
yeah,
him.
it's just a trait of him,
Yeah,
he's very passionate about it, and sometimes he can be a bit rude, but I really like his grit.
yeah. I think if he's on your team, you'd love him. If you just face him, you don't really
Yes,
like him at all.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, that's a
Definitely.
good way to put it. Yeah.
Is that how you play as well, Laura? Are you like that on the pitch?
I wouldn't consider myself as Gavi, no.
That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Just cool, calm, and collected like Xavi, but not Gavi as well, which is great fun. But no, especially with obviously me being, I'm not a Real Madrid fan per se, but I just went to their ground and I've loved both their teams for a good number of years. Atletico, Real Madrid, Barcelona. But for me personally, it's going to be great fun because there's a lot more youthful talent coming through. It's the first time in a long time when there's no Karim Benzema, there's no
Yeah,
Suarez, there's no Messi, and there's no Ronaldo in La Liga.
yeah,
So it's now time for. I know Robert Lewandowski's a big man and a big player now, but it's now time for the young players to become the new poster boys of La Liga
yeah,
football as well. So
yeah,
people
yeah.
like Pedri, people like Vinicius Junior can all come up and kind of shine in terms of how well they can play. Are there any players in La Liga that you're looking forward to watching, not just from Barcelona, but from anywhere else in La Liga?
Um, I really like Fran Garcia.
Mm,
Uh, he is gonna play for Real Madrid this season.
left back, isn't it?
Yeah, but he was at Rayo last year, and I
Mm.
watched a couple games, and I really, really liked him. So I'm excited to see him in Real Madrid to see how he does.
Yeah, because last season you had Camavinga at left back as well, and he was playing out of position, which was great to see. But for me, I'm really excited with some of these talented players that you've got. Jude Bellingham coming
Mhm.
into the from the Bundesliga to La Liga. Ilkay Gundogan as well from Manchester City after winning the treble, coming to Barcelona, and I think he's going to be a really good partner in there for Pedri, maybe even Frankie De Jong in that midfield three, which would be great fun. And he's going to be a very talented player to watch for Barcelona as well this season,
Yeah,
which would be really, really
I'm
nice.
I'm interested in watching him because I really like Guardiola,
Yes.
and when I when Guardiola lets a player leave, I don't know if it's a good sign. So I'm interested in seeing how he does in Barcelona.
Yeah, it's quite true actually. It's a good point when you put it like that. With Raheem Sterling last season, he had his worst season in 10 years after leaving Manchester City for Chelsea. Leroy Sané didn't really do well after leaving Manchester City for Bayern Munich. Ilkay Gundogan, I think it's that big drop off of quality. That Guardiola effect is true and it's realistic for a lot of these players that have left. Gabriel Jesus as well, leaving for Arsenal, didn't really continue scoring and assisting like he did at Manchester City, and it goes to show the power that Guardiola really has in his team and in his players as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. The good thing is that Guardiola's style is similar to Barcelona's style.
Mm,
So maybe, he could adapt better. Um,
definitely.
we'll see. We'll see.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing how Barcelona do, which will be great fun as well. But Laura, just before we finish off the podcast, I want to say thank you very much for your time today. You've been very helpful in educating me about your career in football, about your education as well, and obviously with La Liga coming up and the Women's World Cup, which has been fantastic. The last thing I kind of wanted to ask you about, Laura, was more in terms of what you kind of have planned for your career as well, because with women's football now, it's going to become bigger and better than ever before. You're going to have a lot more quality players coming through in academies. You're going to have a lot more exposure media side as well. And obviously, with your new master's degree, congratulations again. You've got a career during your footballing career as well. So, what can we kind of expect from you moving forward and from women's football in general, Laura?
Yeah. I obviously want to keep playing and playing as high as I can.
Yeah,
But I also want to keep contributing to women's football because I think there's a lot of growth right now, but women's football is still not sustainable. And I think it's important to capitalize from this growth, from all the business parts of the sport to really make the game sustainable in the future. So I want to keep playing. I want to keep contributing on the field, but also off the field. Um, so yeah, I hope to be able to do both.
excellent. No, that's really good to hear as well. And now I've got to kind of ask you as well. Are you any good at crossbar challenges, Laura?
Oh, what? What?
Have you ever played the crossbar challenge when you have to hit the crossbar?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so now I have to officially challenge you to a crossbar challenge because I challenge every footballer to a crossbar challenge, thinking I'm good enough to actually play professional footballers at their own game. But I think I'm pretty good at a crossbar challenge. There's
I'll
rather,
take it.
yeah, we'll have it next time I'm in Madrid or when you're in England. We'll have a game and
Hey,
it'll be good
yeah,
fun.
just
But
contact me and we'll do it at Rayo.
I've challenged so many people to crossbar challenges, and they're like, "Why have you not offered any videos or showed anything of crossbar challenges, and I'll do it eventually, but I need to make a crossbar challenge video. It's going to be painful. And
If
the
you,
other,
yeah,
sorry, carry on.
if you come to Madrid, let me know and we'll do one and we'll record it.
We will record it. We'll
Yeah.
pop it on our YouTube channel, which will be great fun. I already lost to one women's footballer from England at crossbar challenges, so I'm 0 for 1 this season so far. So I'm not looking forward to it. But when it does happen, when I do come to Spain, hopefully we'll be able to play. I play foot golf as well. So if you play foot golf, do you know what the sport is? Foot golf.
I can assume what it is, but I've never played
Football
it.
and golf just combined. It's like the easiest version of football ever. But I'm very good at that. Like we tried to play foot golf when we were in Madrid. There's some really lovely courses in like golf courses in Madrid. But they didn't answer our call and we didn't want to like turn up there and not have a game to play. So that was the case. But yeah, if that happens, then I'll have to challenge you at foot golf as well, which will be
Yeah.
great fun. But really good. I'll happily have a game with you anytime, Laura, which will be good fun. And now I just wanted to kind of ask you before we wrap up, just to kind of just explain to the audience like how not how, explain to the audience where they can find you, where they can learn more from you, and obviously where to expect to see you most this season as well.
Well, they can learn about me on my LinkedIn or Instagram profiles. But also the company that I'm working for right now is A&V Sports.
Okay.
I'm working in their commercial side and we represent women's footballers and I do all their sponsorships. And if they want to follow me too, they can follow A&V Sports and they'll see, how I'm trying to contribute to the growth of women's football and the commercial side. And yeah.
Excellent. Really well done, Laura, as well. And do you think Barcelona will win the Champions League or La Liga this season? What do you think's better for them?
Women's, men's,
Women's.
women's.
Yeah.
They're definitely gonna win La Liga or Liga F, it's called. They're gonna win Liga F, and I think they'll win the Champions League again.
Yeah, it'll be a good run for them as well. We've got Wolfsburg, Lyon, Arsenal, even in the Women's Champions League, which would be great fun to see. Manchester United have recently qualified for the Women's Champions League for the first time in their history, so that'll be great fun for me. Hopefully, I'll get to go to a few games, which will be.
But I need to say, I think Barcelona is gonna win the league, but it's gonna be tighter than this year because clubs are getting better and there's more investment in the game and they're signing better players, and I think it's gonna be tighter. So yeah, more
I mean,
competitive.
Barcelona kind of need to sign someone like you who can play the ball forward, who can take free kicks as well. So they'll need someone who can play forward, which will be good fun if they've got loads of new women players coming forward, which is great to see.
We'll see. We'll see.
We never know what could happen. Manifestation. You could manifest it, and it could come into existence, which would be great to see. And then with the men's team, yeah, it definitely could happen as well. But with the men's game as well, I think Barcelona will have another good season. It'll be very difficult. Real Madrid are looking really good at the moment, but I think with Barcelona,
they are. They are.
Barcelona with the pedigree they've got already, with their front three as well, Rafinha is looking really good in preseason. Lewandowski as well. That's going to be an exciting time for Barcelona Football Club as well, coming back to the top of European football potentially, which will be great fun as well. But yeah, everyone, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for taking your time to listen to our podcast this today. Do find us on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast. Do follow Laura. We'll leave her descriptions in the description. We'll leave her links in the description below, I should say. And yeah, Laura, best of luck for the season. Great to have you on, and thank you for speaking with us, especially in English as well. Your English is fantastic. It's way better than my Spanish. So thank you very much for your time today. It's been great.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Everyone, thank you very much for listening. Take care and see you later.